You know, it's now a brand new series, but I'm not going to be too mad about the way Carolina played this game because they played a good game tonight. You can't really be mad that both teams seem to want it. And I think there were a few moments a couple things that cost Carolina this game, and I'll go into them in a minute. But in general, Carolina played great. They were out shooting the other team. Their forecheck was great. I think their rush wasn't as good as it has been in the past, but the playoffs generally become tighter as the league goes on. So yeah, it's tough to be mad about a game like this. I think in general Carolina played good for 4 out of 5 of those periods. So like how can I and then a fluke play ends up costing him the game because it's overtime and a single mistake can make you a game. And Niederreiter could have just as easily put a goal in for him. So, I don't really know how it does kind of suck. I'm not gonna lie. I I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. It's a double overtime loss, and if we won, we would have been up 3-0 in the series. However, we're now up 2-1 in the series. So we still have a lead in the series, and yeah, you still have a lead in the series. Now, what I think cost Carolina this game is once again, they came out slow in the first 5 minutes of the game, and they were able to recover. Don't get me wrong, Carolina was able to recover, and they played a solid game for the remainder of the game. However, they did come out with a not weak, but they were a little slower than Nashville to start the game, but that's kind of acceptable because Nashville's back was against the wall. But it still was a slow start. Nashville got a goal out of it. Carolina did battle back, but if Nashville doesn't get that extra goal, maybe the game doesn't go to overtime. But, again, that's a you never know situation to be in. So the other thing is Carolina took too many penalties. They killed them off, but they took one too many, and that was the 5-on-3. If you take out coming out slow and just the sheer amount of penalties Carolina was taking, especially when they got down 5-on-3, then they win the game. So that's what they got to do next game is focus on staying out of the box. Now look, Carolina's penalty kill is amazing, but eventually if you are averaging 7 penalties a night, 13 in 7 penalties a night, 6.5 in regulation, you're going to get scored on. I don't care how good your penalty kill is or how bad your power play is. In Carolina, they can afford to take 2 or 3 penalties a game. Don't get me wrong, but offensive penalties when you're on the power play, delay of game penalties, you can't afford those. And I could criticize the NHL for calling the titty tat stuff in the playoffs, especially in overtime. Like, you're really going to call that in overtime? But Carolina killed that one off, so I'm not gonna. I think they call it a little bit too much of the titty tat penalties that they tend to let go of in the playoffs, and that's going off of the precedent the NHL set. If that's the way the NHL always called penalties in the playoffs, I'd be fine. But it's the inconsistency of that I would be critical of because NHL officiating is wildly inconsistent. If they're not going to call stuff, that's fine. When I played hockey, I loved when they didn't call stuff. My best games were when refs let stuff go because I was a dirty ass hockey player, but I wasn't any good. But so I made up for it by being dirty. And so if they're not going to call stuff, go ahead. That's the kind of hockey I like playing. That's the kind of hockey I like watching. But if you're going to call stuff like that, call it consistently. That's all I really want from the NHL. So there's that. And so I'm not going to complain. I think a lot of them were technically penalties. So, if the referees are going to call them, don't do them. And honestly, the overtime one by the new guy, I'm going to botch his name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It starts with an L, Lepren something. I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm not going to try. Good to see him get a debut. He had a solid debut. I think his penalty was a good penalty to take because Duchesne was going to have speed, and Duchesne, he's in ridiculous shape because Duchesne was better in overtimes than he was in regulation. So what else is there to say about that? And then, yeah, I guess I'll go on to player of the game. And I would give it to Brett Pesce. I think, I would give it to Brady Shea too if I could. I mean, I technically could because it's my own show. I could say a tie, but I don't want to cower it out and give it to a tie, and then eventually I'm doing gimmicky things like the whole team wins or something. No, I always want to crown a Hurricane of the game, and I got to give it to Brett Pesce. He got a goal, and this is kind of over the past 2 games because Jacob Slavin's been out, and his presence is still noticeable. But Brady Shea and Brett Pesce, being the number 2 and being the number 3 and the number 4 defenseman, have really stepped up their game to fill that void for the Hurricanes. Brady Shea up on the top 2, and Brett Pesce as the defensive defenseman go-to guy. So I'm not going to call him out too much. Or I'm not going to call them out. I'm literally calling them out. Way to stumble over your words, but yeah. So I'll give it to Brett Pesce, and it's a brand new series, but Carolina, if they win tomorrow, they're back in the driver's seat of the series. And I think not tomorrow, Sunday. So Carolina, they need to win Sunday. Once they win Sunday, they're in good shape for the rest of the series. I'm not going to be mad. Nashville fought hard, Carolina fought hard, and the puck went Nashville's way. However, I still think Carolina played better. We were the better team that game, and I think ultimately in a playoff series, the better team always prevails. And as long as Carolina wins Game 4, they're good to go. And even if they lose Game 4, you're not in trouble until you lose at home. So I'll see you guys Sunday for Game 4 between Carolina and Nashville. And if you guys like the content I'm producing on the channel, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you guys click the bell if you want to get notified when I upload a video. If you guys want to help build a community of Canes fans on YouTube, share the video, and I'll see you guys Sunday night. Unfortunately not, I was going to do unfortunately not the 3 down, 13 to go, but still at 2, 14 to go. Let's get the 13th on Sunday. Let's get the 3rd on Sunday.